So the plumbers made it here, and within an hour, literally, they showed up at 3 o'clock and were gone by 4. Within an hour, they had the transition made from the soft copper. It's very, very difficult to deal with, but they had the transition made, so they sweated on the connector for their PEX. Sweated on the connector for their PEX, and yeah, ran it all the way up the wall. I'm not really sure why they insulated it. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea or a bad idea. Even if the pipes sweat for whatever reason, it's just going into the ground anyway. It's not going to come up through, especially with a pan liner. So, not really sure about that. They told me 2 inches of concrete is good enough, because I told them I'm going to be impacting some of this with rock and shale and stuff like that to build it back up from grade level. And I think they're right. I think this 4 inches of concrete is not necessary to go back with. So what I love about it is I asked them, and I already jackhammered out the bottom plate so that they would have room to drill their holes, and they did. And since they're plumbers, they already knew I was putting in a valve, so they transitioned. So I'm old school. I want a Pro Press. If anybody has a bunch of extra money and they want to buy me a Pro Press, yeah, please and thank you. Yeah, so they didn't have any copper. I was laughing. If we can find some copper, I'm like, I got a stick. So they just cut that stick and went up, because they know where my valve is going to be. I think it's about probably 8-9 inches up from here. So my valve is going to be somewhere around this area, and they just brought both of the copper lines up so that I could sweat them, so that I could sweat the valve in. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, you know, full disclosure, they charged my customer $750 to do this, and we're here an hour. To have this happen, if there were my house and if I ran into the same issue, I would gladly spend the $750. It was well worth it, because it was going to be twice that amount to run. There's a water heater and all the entrance of your water to your house, PRV and all that stuff, on the other side of this closet. And so if they ran it through the attic, they were going to charge, and bring it down this wall, they were going to charge $2,300. So this is much, much cheaper, much, much easier. And it gets me to the point where I can actually get started on what I was hired to do. After I fill all this stuff in, I won't be able to do the pan today because all this concrete has to dry once I mix it up and all that stuff. So my hands are going to be tied in a couple of hours once I've dealt with all of this stuff. However, I still have this to deal with, because this is going to be a double vanity. And as I said before, I have no idea why the builder decided 3-inch pipe would be a good idea for the vent, because the vent should be 3-inch. And look how it got bumped out with that plate at the bottom. You got bumped out, and that's why I was saying the wallboard was bumped out. I'm like, why is the wallboard bumped out? Because they use 3-inch pipe. So I have to cut out from here to there. I have to cut out that and reduce that down to 2-inch that I could work with, and get rid of this monstrosity and all this garbage that they did, and somehow get a pipe coming out this way, and then go through these 2x4s, because it's not a load-bearing wall, go through these 2x4s and get a drain put over here, as well as a hot and a cold have to go extend over there too. So that's going to be a couple hours easily to take care of that. While that's drying, and then tomorrow I can pour the pan. Also, another side note that I thought I'd tell you about, I busted out the concrete he poured around the drain, because I want to get rid of the drain and cap it off. But I decided it would be easier, there's a little bit of bite there, so it would be easier to hot gun out this flange. So for those of you that don't know, if you put enough heat on one of these connectors where the glue is at, it will disadhere, and it will make your pipe kind of soggy, so you have to be careful putting too much heat on it. But if you put just enough, you can pull this flange off, and then I'll have enough bite where I can get an inside pipe cutter. And I could do that now. I could get my inside pipe cutter now, but I already know this drain is probably about 10, no, more than that, probably about 14, 16 inches deep into the ground. And my magnetic, I have a telescoping magnetic thing. If that inside pipe cutter drops into the P-trap, then I can recover it. But my magnetic tool will not work that far down. So therefore, I'm relegated to taking this out with my heat gun. So hopefully that works. Either which way, that will be capped off and concrete poured on top of that and all that stuff. So yeah. And my drain, I think I mentioned my drain that I put in the P-trap for the shower is not quite center. I'm about 3 inches off. So I'm going to cut that out and put a new P-trap in there so that I can be more center. But I'm not going to do that until I put the knee wall. So the knee wall is going to go here, about this height over here, all the way across, almost 6 feet long, about where that line is at. Then I'll have a definitive idea of what center is, and then I can center my drain. So that's what I have to deal with today. I'm not going to show all the process because I have enough videos over 15 years on my channel to show everything that I do. These are a bit of anomalies that are going on here, but you know, anytime that I can provide information, whether it's about this going on or about that, what I just was talking about, or even this, any tidbits of information that people can glean from my channel, I'm happy to provide. But as far as like working videos, they're really hard with one person. So I'm not going to show the process, but I will show the after effect. Obviously a lot of work got done since I was last on camera. The knee wall is built, the concrete is poured, the drain is in, blocking is in for the pan liner, and I'm getting ready to pour the pan. The cement, the concrete got poured pretty good. I did a pretty good job of smoothing some things out. And typically, even though all this is going to be hid, I like to make it almost perfect. So typically I would get some thin set, mix it up, and then I would just screed thin set. See that gap up under there, the board there? I would screed it out to where everything is level and nice. And even here, my flange is slightly above because the concrete is slightly above. So the old concrete, and the flange will match up. And normally I would screed in. I still might do that. I got a couple, 3 or 4 hours left of the day. And just make it nice and neat and smooth and all that stuff. There's some of this concrete that I can't do anything about. I think that end is a little bit higher than everything else, but it's okay. The guy that did the screeding before, I think it was just mortar that he screeded around here. I didn't take out all of his mortar because again, it doesn't really matter. The pan liner is going to sit on it. But if you're going to do a water in, water out system, which I don't do, then yes, your floor should be as level as possible. In fact, let me say another thing. If you end up with some type of hodgepodge situation like this, and you're going to do a water in, water out system, go get probably 5-6 bags of Level Quick and pour the Level Quick down here. Of course, tape off all the areas where it can kind of seep into. Pour the Level Quick down here and get this floor as level as possible before you put your pan liner in. But I don't do that. I do a sealed system. Therefore, all these humps and dips and all that stuff don't matter. Water will never see the mortar, so I'm not really concerned about it. But I do like a neat subfloor, no matter what it is, to put my liner on. And my liner is currently, the glue is drying on my liner outside as we speak with a 3-inch overlap, because they only make it 6 foot long and I have a 9-foot shower. So the extra 4 feet, because I have to go 6 inches up the side, the extra 4 feet had to get tied in with a 3-inch overlap with the glue. So that's currently drying as we speak. And while it's drying, I might come in here with some thin set and screed some of that on here. It just makes me feel better. It doesn't really do any good. My drain is perfectly center, which I did struggle with. I took out the old P-trap because it was 2 inches off, 3 inches off the left and 2 inches off. Anyway, so I cut it out, did it over again. That perfectionist mindset. So now it is perfectly 24.5 inches here and 24.5 inches here. And it is 50 something inches, I think it's 51 to center, and then 51 from here to center. So spot on, spot on. The only thing that kind of throws me here is I have to do, basically I'm doing 2 pans, mortar pans, because this alone would be the size of a normal shower, and then this alone is the size of a normal shower. So I'm gonna start at that back end, work my way up to the drain, and then conversely work my way backwards here so that I can get out. If they had chosen a curb, it would have been a little easier because I would have had access to the side and inside, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm gonna deal with it the best I can, and yeah, that's where I'm at. Any little tidbits of information that I've shared along the way, then yay. Oh, one other thing, when you build your curb, and no matter if you're subfloor, your wood, or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but when you build your curb, toenail your screws. These are 3.5 inch screws that are toenailed. In fact, the second one is also toenailed in, toenailed at the end, so that the curb is stable. This curb is going nowhere. So I shot the bottom board in with a, what I call bang gun, 2, 4, 6. So there's 6 nails at the bottom, and then a whole bunch of them over there. But then these get tied in with 3.5 inch screws. So yeah, very, very stable, not going anywhere. My wall level, let's check it. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? By design. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? By design. Look at that. And look at that. Oh, I'm a hair off. Whoops. Oh well. That barrel of the drain moves a little bit, so when I put my mortar in, I'll level that left and right. It's like a 16th off. Anyway, that's enough chit chat. On to work. I couldn't help myself. Even though it's not going to be seen, I had to get some thin set out and smooth everything out and make everything flush-ish. It's good enough. So, oh my God, this pan took me almost 2 hours to do. Well, it's basically like 2 smaller pans. But I'm glad it's done. I have sweated bullets. I'm out. Be back on Monday.